Welcome everyone to this CELPIP Speaking Part 2 Personal Experience Analysis. Now I'm just here in the CELPIP Library Speaking Part 2. And before we get started, I do want to remind you that Speaking Part 2 focuses more on CLB 4, 5, and 6. What does that mean? Well, that means that this question should be easy enough for CLB 4, 5, or 6 to answer well. So if you need that level, then you should do well in this part, okay? Because other parts will be more difficult. And now, if you are higher level, if you need 7, 8, or 9, it means you will do well in this part too, but it means that this part will not show your higher level speaking like part 1, 6, or 7. Those parts will really show CLB 7 or higher, okay? Because this part, it's easier for all levels, okay? Now, also I want to remind you that we do have this really great tips and strategies video. This video will give you some ideas about how you can plan to answer the question, how you can prepare, how you can read the question, and just some things that you should do when you answer speaking part 2. And some of the tips and strategies that I will be following are in this video. So I will be leaving a link in the description box to that video, okay? So let's look at today's example. A good worker. Now I'm just here in the front page of this sample, and you will see that there are two levels. There's a CLB 5-6 sample, and there's a CLB 7-9 sample. So then, this will be a CLB 7-9 analysis, okay? And also, I do want to let you know that most of our lessons include vocabulary building. Now, vocabulary building is a really great exercise. It teaches you some new words. For example, over here we have words, basic meanings, some synonyms, some antonyms. And then after that, you have this really great vocabulary exercise where you have to complete the sentence by choosing one word from the list. You need to clean up and your messy desk. Good question. Whatever you maybe organize, hint, hint. So whatever you think it is, you write down the word in here. I'm not going to write it for you. And then you check your score and you should get 70% and you can review and retake the quiz. Very great exercise for building vocabulary. Also, both lessons have grammar building. Now, grammar building is a great exercise to improve your grammar. Now, for part 2 students, very important, most of the questions are in the past tense. So lower levels, 4, 5, and 6, we need to know our past tense very well, but also can be present tense and some future tense. We need to know our basic tenses, okay? And this grammar exercise is a very great lesson to inform you about past tense. And then you have some exercises. You read the exercise. I my teeth 3 times yesterday. I cleaned my teeth 3 times yesterday. Number 2, it was hot in the room, so I opened the window. Okay, so you write it down. It was hot in the room, so I opened the window. Very great. You write it down and you do them all like that. There's some more here, some more here. So the speaking guide, everyone, if you want a more detailed understanding of the speaking guide, then please watch the tips and strategies video in the link below. For now, all I want to tell you is that, well, usually this question, like I said, its complexity is 4 to 6, not very difficult. That means that lower levels, you should answer this question well. Higher levels, of course, you should answer this question very easily, okay? And also for higher levels, this question will not be the question that will determine whether you are 7 or higher, okay? That's important to know. Most of the questions involve past tense or simple tenses, okay? Using present, past, future, simple, very important. Lower levels, it's so important not to make so many mistakes with simple tenses. Higher levels, definitely you shouldn't make any mistakes with simple tenses for 7 or higher, okay? But lower levels, just a simple example, is or are, was or were, right? Will be, going to, conjugating the verb, study, studies. That kind of error you should try not to make, okay? And then, of course, very important, everyone, we want to have a complete response. Use all your time. No matter your level, you should try to use the full minute. Speaking for 30 seconds is too short. But also, you have to try to finish the question in 1 minute. Okay, so one thing that we can do is we can get to the last part of the question faster and speak more about it. I will explain more of that later in the example, okay? But again, using all your time, very important, okay? All right, and then here we have how we should organize our answer. Yes, organizing our response. And this is something that I will be using as I speak, and I will be telling you each part, introducing the question, answering the first points, okay, second points, and last points. The points are the questions that are in this topic. There are usually 2 or 3 questions, or sometimes 4. Again, you see here these questions. Where were you working? What was your job position? What was the promotion? Why do you think you got the promotion? Right. So that's what it means here with answer the first question, second question, last question. Okay. Very good then, everyone. Let's get started with today's analysis. So, let's read the question. Part 2, personal experience, preparation time, 30 seconds, speaking time, 1 minute. Okay. So, talk about a coworker you know who you think is a good worker. Okay, sounds straightforward. It can be a coworker you work with now or someone you worked with before. Who is this person? What do you do together? And why or how is this person a good worker? Okay, so again, part 2 should be fairly simple for us to understand for level 7 to 9. Now, just some things that I want to remind you about that we will be keeping track of while we are analyzing. Answering the question clearly and directly, level 7s to 9s, we have to do that, as well as organizing our answer in a very, I would say, logical format, starting from the beginning until the end, okay? We need to try to bring out some stronger ideas grammatically and vocabulary as well. I will be focusing on those. And of course, to the end, fluency, clarity, and intonation, okay? So then, let's start, everyone, and let's start by introducing the question, okay? That's what I need to do first. So here we go. I'd like to speak about one of my coworkers who I think has been a great example of a good worker, and that's my current coworker, Donald. Let's just call him Donald, okay? All right, well, So I'm starting off directly, clearly, and directly. That's good to see already. Okay. Now I will say also that from the beginning, I'm already using present perfect, and I'm probably going to be using present perfect a lot because I'm talking about from the past until now. And any time that you can use present perfect, everyone, that's the difference between 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so we need to, I will show that to you as I go and explain that further. And one more thing, I will be color coordinating. So all the blue will be my structure, sequencing, red will be the main grammar form, and everything else in black. Okay, so again, clearly and directly. Now let's get to our first idea, which will be, who is this person? Okay. First of all, Donald and I have been working as social workers at our current organization for nearly 5 years. Okay, very good. Again, you see, we've been working together. Okay, Donald and I have been working together. Okay, present perfect continuous. Again, strong. Okay, and he was my trainer when I first started to work here. So he's taught me everything I know. Okay, great. Again, he has taught me. So again, I'm using present perfect because this is from the past until now. And actually, anytime you're talking about something current, present, from the past until now, we should be thinking about using present perfect to express those ideas, and that's the stronger way. All right? And then we have one more sentence here. You could say, I've followed in his footsteps. Again, that is very strong. Now, remember, I was saying earlier that we need to include higher level vocabulary. This right here, using an expression, is already 9 or higher, okay? Anytime that you can use an expression, that's great. So right away from the beginning, we're speaking at a high level using present perfect, okay, and bringing out expressions already. So great work so far. Okay, so this is the person. It's Donald. We've been working together for a while, and I've followed in his footsteps. Okay, great. Next part, what job did you do together? So what did you do together? Okay, let's see. Regarding what work we've done together, well, most of our duties involve helping newcomers get settled into their new community. Okay, so you see how it says here, what work did you do together? Well, we have done from the past until now. This whole time that we've been working together, we've done this. Okay, involve helping newcomers get settled into, okay, good expressions. Involve helping and get settled. Okay, now we need to expand this idea. So we've usually gotten together and discussed new clients and how we could improve their situation. Okay, very good. Again, what I would say is very strong about this example here is that again, we're using present perfect continuous. And again, I will say over and over in this example, the more you can use present perfect continuous and correctly, the stronger your answer and the higher score, okay? We've usually gotten together and discussed. Great. Okay. So then, now let's get to the last part. Why or how is this a person a good worker? Okay, so let's see here. Personally, I think Donald's being an exemplary employee because he's always gone above and beyond to ensure that the newcomers he's been helping reach their goals. And he's also been ready and able to lend a hand whenever I need it. Okay, so very good. one good thing about personally, I think I always say that's the best way to conclude this part. The last part usually asks you to explain why or how did this make you feel. And this part is called personal experience. So ending with personally, I think, great. Again, present perfect. Okay, now we have some higher level vocabulary. Exemplary employee. And then he's gone above and beyond. I feel like that's an expression. We should put that in purple as well. I usually put expressions in purple. Go above and beyond. Go above and beyond. And here we're using it in present perfect form. So gone above and beyond. So go above and beyond means do more than you should. Okay? Do more. Right? And he's been helping to ensure that the newcomers, he's been helping, present perfect continuous from the past until now, and continuous now, because we're working in this situation now. Great. And he's also being ready and able to lend a hand. Help, right? Lend a hand means help whenever I need it. So, well, everyone, it may sound, I'm not sure how you thought about that, but actually it is a strong answer. Let's just say that first. It's 9 or higher. And it's 9 or higher when part 2, I've said before that part 2, it's a part that can make your speaking sound even better or even worse. Well, let's say higher or lower, not worse. And what do I mean by that? Because sometimes if level 7 to 9 or 9 or higher give a weak answer in part 2, it can make their speaking seem lower. But if 7 to 9 or 9 or higher give a strong answer for part 2, then it can make their speaking seem higher. And this is an example of how part 2 can be a strong answer. First of all, very important, of course, organization. We've connected really well, personally, I think, regarding great connection and sequence. Now, secondly, it's complete. Of course, it's complete. Yeah. And usually 7 to 9 they'll provide a complete answer. Organizing and providing a complete answer are not the strongest point of this answer. But the next part, why it's 9 or higher, this is the most important. Level 7s to 9s can take this kind of situation and they can easily express it in perfect forms because this answer can be expressed in present perfect forms. We've been working together. I've learned everything. He's taught me everything, I've followed in his footsteps. We've done work together. We've usually gone, okay? He's always gone. He's been helping. So, using present perfect or perfect forms naturally and freely usually demonstrate higher level knowledge because it's not so easy. Level 7s to 8s, you can understand present perfect well, but you can't use it so well. This is the problem. Understanding is one thing, using and speaking with it naturally and free flowing is another thing. And 7 to 8s, we still haven't developed that yet. Okay? But the level 9s have, or you should have. And so I strongly recommend 7 to 9s. Let's try to use perfect form as much as possible as we've done so in this example. And also, expression. Wow, you could say I've followed in his footsteps. Great expression over here. Very great expression. One, go above and beyond. Another one, able to lend a hand. Excellent use of expressions. 3 expressions. The more expressions that you use, the higher your score. And so, that's why this example is 9 or higher. 7 to 8. Also, we tend not to think in expressions, or we don't use English expressions so much. But if you can, you can. And you should do it, and you can get a higher score. Okay, so the quality of this answer is very strong, and this kind of quality is the one that you need to demonstrate to get a higher score in this part or to elevate your speaking ability. Because again, remember that in part two will not demonstrate your speaking, higher level speaking knowledge. It won't unless you make it that way, like this example. In this example, with a simple part 2 question, we've elevated our speaking and we've demonstrated it to be a higher level, okay? But of course, it's not just about the quality of the answer. Let's remember, it's also about flow and intonation and speaking ability, right? We need to have good flow or strong flow, slowly, continuously, clearly and continuously, and intonation clearly and also with the right type of stress in the sentence parts. Okay, and I'm going to try to illustrate that for you now. So please follow along, everyone, and try to focus on the parts where I'm stressing the sentences higher or lower. Okay, here we go. I'd like to speak about one of my coworkers who I think's been a great example of a good worker, and that's my current coworker, Donald. First of all, Donald and I have been working as social workers at our current organization for nearly 5 years. He was my trainee when I first started to work here, so he's taught me everything I know. You could say I followed in his footsteps. Regarding what work we've done together, well, most of our duties involve helping newcomers get settled into their community. So we've usually gotten together and discussed new clients and how we could improve their situation. Personally, I think Donald's been an exemplary employee because he's always gone above and beyond to ensure that newcomers he's been helping reach their goals. And he's also been ready and able to lend a hand whenever I need it. Okay, so then everyone, hope you were able to see how I was able to have really good flow and intonation from beginning to end. Maybe a little bit faster than I should have in the beginning. I felt I was going too fast. Stressing out, you could say I've followed in his footsteps. Regarding what work we've done together, well, most of our duties. So you see, that kind of intonation is important, everyone. And the more that you can do that, the more you will get a higher score. Now, everyone, what can we do to practice? Well, to practice, the first thing that we need to do, everyone, very important, is read and understand. Let's read and understand how we've organized this example. This is why it's in blue. The organization, the structure. This is why I like to color coordinate everyone. Let's read and understand that. Second, the ideas we've expressed. Okay, how or what ideas we're using. Let's understand those ideas. And third, and most importantly for this example, how we've expressed them grammatically. Okay, let's understand why we're using present perfect so much, where we're using it. Present perfect continuous. Okay, we're still working together, and this is from the beginning. He's taught me. And the expressions. How do we use these expressions? I've followed in his footsteps, go above and beyond. Let's read and understand that, everyone. The more that you can read and understand, the better. Now, second, let's read and practice speaking this answer in 1 minute. In 1 minute, we need to speak this answer with good flow and intonation, as I did. Okay? And the more that you practice reading and speaking this answer in 1 minute, the more that you will develop your flow and intonation, everyone. Very important. And lastly, let's practice speaking this answer in 1 minute without reading it. Can you do that? Well, the level 9s or higher, you can. You can practice reading this answer 2 or 3 times, and then you should be able to speak it. Not exactly, but almost all of it in 1 minute from your knowledge, not memory. If you're trying to memorize answers, everyone, then you're not learning. Okay? If you're trying to memorize, you won't be able to keep that knowledge. We shouldn't be trying to memorize. We should be trying to read and understand and then trying to speak those ideas from our own knowledge. 9s, you should be able to. 7 to 8s, we need more practice. Okay, the more times that you practice reading and speaking it, the better. So for that, everyone, I will be leaving a link in the description box so we can practice. And also, don't forget that you can practice the grammar building and vocabulary building exercises. Very great exercises to build your vocabulary and grammar knowledge. Very good. Lastly, everyone, let's not forget about CELPIP Library. Now, CELPIP Library has over 60 examples of speaking part 2, an interaction with an animal, doing it again, a home project, feeling surprised, a valuable profession, skills, place to visit, my family, a movie, an event, your dream, doing it again. Oh, we read that one already. Winners, bad service, an older friend, being stressed. So many topics, energetic. Over 60 examples of speaking part 2, where you can read sample answers, read and speak. Very great way to improve your speaking part 2 knowledge, okay? And for that, with discount code CELPIP79, again, that's discount code CELPIP79, you can get a 3-month subscription of CELPIP Library for $10.99. What a great deal, everyone. That's a great deal. And I strongly recommend it, okay? Let's not forget, practice makes perfect.